The role of the Flexible Learning Institute at Charles Sturt University is really to inspire best practice in blended and flexible learning and strive basically to inform best practice and to transform best practice. And that's our aim, to make it a leading university in blended and flexible learning.
Sooner or later, you're going to be asked to start thinking about developing a blended and flexible learning strategy for your course. And it could be the case that the first question you ask yourself is, why am I being asked to do this?
Blended and flexible learning is important in the current climate because it's the most inclusive approach for learning and teaching. It provides opportunities for lifelong, life-wide learning, but allows the students to actually study at their own place and at their own pace.
If you think about this from the point of view of the student who's going to be going through your course, it is the case that if there's not a blended and flexible learning strategy for a course, a student may in fact have an incredibly inconsistent learning experience throughout the years that they're enrolled.
The way to look at a blended course is to actually look at it from different perspectives. We need to take account of spaces where students actually study. We need to look at interactions in both the subjects and course. We need to look at diverse range of pedagogy. We need to look at ICT and Interact in the learning management system, as well as the literacy of both staff and students. The Flexible Learning Institute sees good practice in blended and flexible learning through policy, through principles, through perspectives, through the aspirational framework, and also scholarship. This video is going to examine principles and perspectives, and further information can be found on the FLI website.
I think there is a fair bit of ambiguity perhaps around blended and flexible learning approaches, and while that can be problematic, it can also be quite advantageous. So it really opens up a whole lot of opportunities.
It also opens up the prospect for us not to just think about teaching being something that actually happens inside a classroom at a specific place, a specific location at a specific time, and starts us thinking about how we might actually deliver authentic learning experiences for students in a variety of locations.
The development of the principles has been an iterative process. We've developed the first and second draft of the principles for blended and flexible learning. A subsequent draft we're going to place on the FLI blog for discussion and debate by course teams. There are 10 principles. 2 of them are core and 8 are supporting principles. Effective blended and flexible learning design uses the student-centered approach. It's engaging, it's motivating, and intellectually stimulating. It also means that we actually look at interactive activities and social activities within physical and virtual learning environments. Distance education universities have an ethical obligation to include all students in their study practices. This means that we have equitable practices in both learning and teaching and assessment for all students.
It gives them the flexibility, and this is the one thing, flexibility of time and space and how they use the material. And that's something we have to keep in mind all the time with the spaces that we use.
For us, the blending really comes in with looking at a lot of other online Web 2 tools that really do actually provide probably greater affordance in terms of building community or providing students with learning experiences that with technologies that will actually be technologies that they can actually take into the workplace with them.
Another design strategy that you may find useful in examining your course involves perspectives. These perspectives include pedagogy, ICTs, multiliteracies, learning spaces, and interactions. Learning is most effective when we have an appropriate blend of interactions in a course. Some of these interactions include information access, which are course and subject expectations, interactive learning, which is learner-to-content interactions. We also have network learning, which is learner-to-learner and learner-to-teacher interactions, and student-generated content, which is the learner as designer.
What we're seeing is an opening up of the possibilities as far as communication between staff and students goes. And I think that's really important because at the end of the day, a lot of the problems that actually emerge with students in subjects, in courses, come down to communication.
With respect to student-student interactions. So it was really nice to see now quite a mix-up between our on-campus and our distance students. So some of the distance students preferred to come to a tutorial at 11 o'clock during the day. So if you're a stay-at-home mum, 6 o'clock in the evening is not a good time for you to attend a tutorial. So 11 o'clock for them. So they were interacting with our on-campus students who also found that time convenient.
The enhancement of emotional intelligence is a critical aspect of effective policing, and so we've taken a renewed approach in police education to fostering, the development of that. There is a lot of argument to say that perhaps the most potent and powerful way of developing emotional intelligence is to provide opportunities for learning experiences where there is a lot of interaction with, other learners, but then very shortly after to require some reflection, some critical reflection on those activities, and to propose or to identify what's gone on, to provide some detail and to extrapolate on that, but then importantly to propose what they would do as a result, and what they would do differently next time.
We're surrounded by about 95 different species of birds. I can feel the wind on my face, I can feel the sun on my back. There's a very strong sensual element to teaching and engaging, and we can spend a whole lot of, from a cynical point of view, we spend a whole lot of time air conditioning and heating rooms and comfortable chairs and all this. Well, we're sitting on old logs and it's quite comfortable and really nice and quite relaxed, and you do have students thinking. Now of course there are specific practical things we've got to do, but when we're talking about bigger concepts about the role of science education, or for one of my fellows, the role of health provision, really getting out. And if you look around us now, you think we're 100 miles away from anything, and we're less than 500 metres from the main teaching area. So it's that big change in mood that can be initiated by a change of environment in a natural environment.
If you examine your course from the perspective of interactions, you may need to consider a number of questions. These may include: what strategies are used in your course for nurturing learning communities, both online and offline? What different kinds of interactions are enabled, and how is social presence established? Are there opportunities for your on and off-campus students to interact and perhaps collaborate with each other? How do you encourage students to be able to design, develop and share content to enhance the learning and teaching process?
We need to create the environment where people love to learn. My learning philosophy is that learning is hard fun. It's got to be challenging, but it's got to be fun as well.
In order to achieve small things, you need to spend a lot of time.
I think you're only limited by your imagination.